Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. Astral Pet Store. Author by Ancient She. Audio novels by Novelist. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 176. Fast Progress. The green potion antidote was injected into the Death Scyther's arm. The lump on its arm shrank down for a little bit. However, the pus inside the lump was still there and there was no sign of it going away. Old Mo's face was clouded. He didn't know that the black spider's toxins would be potent enough to hurt the Death Scythe, a 9th-rank beast. The others also noticed that the wound was not getting better. This sign made them nervous. They realized that the black spider's poison was not something to be underestimated. On the other hand, the dark dragonhound was still full of vim and vigor. It was hunting for food among the dead black spiders. Ni Chenkong threw a glance at the dark dragonhound and then said to Su Ping, "Brother Su, your dark dragonhound is very resistant to the poison." Su Ping nodded. The dark dragonhound was practically immune to all the toxic beasts on the dragon scale lands. Of course, the same was true for the Inferno dragon and the purple python. Naturally, the three pets had adapted, achieving this level of immunity after dying time after time. Adapting was evolving. The three pets' combat abilities were still the same as before and their appearances did not change. However, their inner structures were rapidly evolving at all times. The level of resistance could be visibly demonstrated in special situations, such as the one encountered that day. The internal structure was different when compared to the progress in combat abilities, but this was one of the parameters considered in the evaluation of the pet's aptitude. Su Ping nodded to Ni Chenkong's comment. Ni Chenkong and the others stared at the dark dragon hound. Some of them found this pet strange and odd, while others became a bit jealous. Under normal circumstances, none of them would have bothered to build a contract with a dark dragon hound, even if they were given one for free. After all, middle-rank pets were of no use to them. Rather, those pets would waste space in their spirit. But this dark dragon hound was different. It was very powerful, talented, and it had just proven to be resistant to toxins. The dark dragon hound was the best of the best, a rare one. This dark dragon was just as valuable, or even more valuable than an average 9th-rank beast. They were envious of Su Ping, since he had been able to get such a precious pet. Luo Guxu was the only one who knew better. This dark dragon hound had most likely been trained in Su Ping's store. Pets born with such rare talents did exist. But the ones as precious as the dark dragon hound were few and far between. Besides, if such pets were auctioned, the organizer would promote the news everywhere. All of them would have known about it. It was unlikely that Su Ping would have bought his pet without leaking any information. The only thing they felt sorry about was that this dark dragon hound had a middle-rank bloodline. If it had had an advanced bloodline, then the dark dragon hound would truly be priceless. Such a pet would be coveted by some titled battle pet warriors that had retired from society. This potion cannot remove the poison, but it can stop it from spreading. Let's go, Old Mo said with a sour face. He didn't want the others to check the Death Scyther's wound any longer. It was humiliating. Ni Chenkong felt he could breathe again. Let's go get the treasure, he proposed. Everyone's eyes glowed at the mention of their goal. Guo Yulan and Zhou Jing explored the way. Soon, they were deep into the valley. Inside, they found a tunnel-like cave. They stepped into the tunnel. Luo Guxu used her flare bird's flames to light up the way. Spider webs were found at every corner. This had obviously been their den. However, no spider could be found inside. All of them had perished in the previous battle. The cave was empty. They pressed forward. Finally, they found the treasure they were looking for. The treasure was a sword that had been stuck in one of the walls deep inside the cave. The air around the sword was rippling. This was a piece of treasure that had come into being in ancient times. The recent technology was unable to manufacture this sword. Rare treasures could generate miraculous effects and could work well with the astral powers cultivated by the battle pet warriors. They could use their astral powers to control those treasures. Many such precious weapons could inflict more harm and do more wonders than those produced with titanium alloys and modern technology. Although titanium alloy swords were hard and sharp enough, they lacked the mysterious and magical functions found in secret treasures, which could not be replicated by technology. Are there any traps? They stopped in front of the sword, looking around nervously. It was said that, other than the beasts on guard, there would be additional traps around a piece of treasure. Su Ping was speechless after seeing Guo Linyu act so timidly. But soon, he realized that Ni Chenkong, Chen, and everyone else were also acting with an intense mood. They were checking around as if there were indeed a trap. Su Ping did not stop there. He stepped forward and pulled the sword out. No, everyone else shouted at the same time when they saw Su Ping moving forward, which was considered reckless. Before they could finish screaming the word, the sword had already been pulled out. Everyone was frightened stiff. Ni Chenkong was the first one to come back to his senses. He threw a look around on high alert, just to make sure that no trap had been activated. Relieved, he said to Su Ping, "That was too impulsive. How dangerous would it be if there were traps?" Su Ping didn't reply since Ni Chenkong said those words out of worry. He decided to accept this and let it go. Before that old dragon had passed away, it had scattered all of its treasures across all the dragon scale lands and had beasts guarding those treasures. Everything the old dragon did was to increase the difficulty of receiving its legacy. Dragons had simple and violent minds. To set up those tests were the best the old dragon could do. The old dragon would not think of setting up traps of any kind. Besides, this sword had most likely not been left by the dragon, to begin with. Some of the spiders must have found the sword and accidentally stuck it into the wall. Maybe the next piece of treasure could be found in a pile of beast feces. Of course, if that were the case, Su Ping would step in to pick up the treasure. Su Ping wielded the sword. It felt the same as the one he had found in the heritage ground. The heritage ground did a nice job replicating the real thing. Who wants it? Su Ping turned around and asked. Ni Chenkong was surprised to see that Su Ping was giving it up without looking carefully. The others were just as stunned. Su Ping was the first one to choose the treasures he liked. Why did he give it up? That being said, none of them voiced their surprise. Perhaps Su Ping didn't like swords. Let me see, Old Mo said. Su Ping gave the sword to him. Old Mo took over the sword and infused it with astral powers. A visible stream of white aura oozed out from the sword. Old Mo was intrigued. He slashed at the ground with the sword. With a crisp sound, the stone on the ground was easily cracked. It was as if Old Mo had cut a piece of tofu. "That is sharp," Old Mo exclaimed. He said to Ni Chenkong without hesitation, "Captain Ni, I'll take the sword." The others saw how sharp the sword was. This was an amazing sword that would cut clean through iron as though it were mud. This sword could hurt 8th or 9th rank beasts. Such a sword was precious. They felt sorry that Su Ping had given it up. Old Mo was happy. He waved the sword. He could hardly tear himself away from it. At the same time, he glared at Su Ping from the corner of his eye. Su Ping was too young and had missed his chance of owning such a treasure. Old Mo didn't know what other treasures could be found later on. But he was glad enough to have this sword. After all, who could tell what they were going to encounter? Maybe the other treasures they could find were useless or less valuable. Chen felt pitiful. He would have asked for the sword if Old Mo had not claimed it. Ni Chenkong threw more looks at this sword without showing his intent. In the end, he said, "Let's move on, since we already got the sword." Guo Yulan stared at Old Mo with envy and asked, "May I have a look?" Old Mo was in a good mood after having picked up this treasure. He agreed. Of course. Then, he gave the sword to Guo Yulan and let her look. After all, this sword was his and no one could take it away. Guo Yulan took it gladly. She observed the sword and Zhou Jing moved closer as well. Then, Yi Chenshin and Luo Guxu took turns to see the sword as well. Yi Chenshin used his azure lizard to build an earth shield and test the sword. To everyone's astonishment, the azure lizard's earth shield was cut open as if it were a piece of wood. Old Mo was even happier. That is awesome. Even a 9th rank beast may be hurt by this sword with one cut. Yi Chenshin exclaimed. Old Mo enjoyed the looks of admiration and envy from everyone. Ni Chenkong was less envious. He just kept the smile on his face as everyone took turns to see the weapon. Afterward, he urged everyone to check around to make sure that they didn't miss anything else. Then, he led the team out of the cave. Su Ping was surprised to see how happy they became with a mere sword. He wondered if he had become a bit too demanding after being educated by the system. They left the corpse-filled valley and then followed Ni Chenkong to the next location. On the way, Su Ping pointed out some potential habitats of beasts that he already knew, but he pretended that it was because of the dark dragon hound's perception. He managed to save the team from many potential dangers and thus avoided wasting much time. In regards to scouting and checking the way, Su Ping did better than Old Mo. However, since Old Mo had obtained the sword, he was less depressed than before. He was no longer in the mood to compete against Su Ping about their pet's skills. During that battle at the valley with the spiders, he had realized that his pet was weaker than Su Ping's dark dragon hound in some areas. After all, Old Mo didn't find out that there were spiders in the valley, not to mention their exact ranks. This was beyond what scouting could do. This was smart all-round scanning. To compete against such a pet was asking for annoyance. Old Mo had moved on. They killed some 7th rank beasts along the way, including a small herd of 8th rank beasts. Soon, they arrived at the second location. Su Ping gave them instructions once they arrived and they quickly finished exploring the second location. This place was similar to the Spider Valley. The treasure found was a damaged armor. It had been there for such a long time that the beasts had broken it. Naturally, Su Ping didn't take it and Chen was not interested. No one else was. This armor was put away. When they went back, they would convert the armor into merit points and share them among the team. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 177, Soul Lantern. The exploration went on. Su Ping noticed that this dragon-scale land was almost identical to the one he remembered. The number of changes was minimal. This land didn't develop toward a different path just because this was reality and the beasts living here could grow and perish. The beasts they had met near the treasures had powers similar to what he had expected. The beasts weren't any stronger than he remembered. Su Ping wanted to ask the system for the reason. Could it be that the heritage ground listed in the cultivation site was being updated according to reality? This seemed to be the explanation according to the current situation. Su Ping thought a bit more and rejected this explanation. If there was a synchronized update, then the Dragon King's heritage ground should have been updated every day as well, while in fact, it wasn't. Could it be that the soul of the old Dragon King is controlling everything? Is it suppressing the strength of the beasts in the Dragon King's heritage ground? Su Ping thought of this other possibility. He squinted. This seemed to be the only idea that could make sense. Otherwise, after so many years, Beast Kings would have come into being and the number would have been large. Maybe there could be a creature that came into being that could exceed the control of the dragon-scale lands. While Su Ping was still buried in his thoughts, the team had arrived at the third location. With Su Ping's scouting, the location of the treasure was soon found. Then, they discussed a plan and forged in. A moment later, the place was secured. There were very few beasts there. The strongest of all was a beast at the lower position of the 9th rank. The Death Scythe, the Fallen Priest, and the Dark Dragon Hound cooperated and soon killed the beast. During this fight, the Dark Dragon Hound's performance was remarkable, astonishing everyone. The Dark Dragon Hound had fended off a crazed strike from the beast on its own. The Dark Dragon Hound had proven to be as powerful as a 9th rank beast. At this moment, Chen was seeing Su Ping as an equal. As a matter of fact, he actually thought Su Ping was better than himself. He began to be polite and even respectful to him. Su Ping could demonstrate such formidable powers at this age. When Su Ping reached their age, he would be even more horrifying than they were. Besides, Su Ping could not be viewed as weak considering the strength he had. He had enough abilities to protect himself. As long as he didn't take the road to ruin, it was very unlikely that Su Ping would perish. After the path to the third piece of treasure had been cleared, they went forward and soon found the hidden treasure. That item was special. It was a yellow lantern that seemed to be aged. There was nothing unique about it. They picked up the lantern, checked it carefully, and poured in astral powers which would light it up. It would give out an orange glow. Other than that, there was nothing else of note. They tried the temperature of the flame inside. It was just warm, not burning hot. The flame could not inflict any harm. This time, Su Ping chose to keep the lantern. This lantern was the only thing he liked in this dragon-scale land. Su Ping didn't even care about that astral spirit fruit that Ni Chenkong was after. Of course, for many people, that fruit could be considered priceless. After all, it could enable anyone below the peak of the 9th rank to move up a position. If a person at the peak of the 8th rank consumed the fruit, that person would reach the 9th rank directly. A person at the upper position of the 9th rank could reach the peak of the rank after eating this fruit. However, this fruit could not be consumed by people at the peak of the 9th rank. It was only effective to those below the peak of the 9th rank. As far as Su Ping was concerned, this was a stronger version of the original force pellet. Su Ping believed that his store would also have it once it was upgraded. He might be able to find advanced original force pellets in the shop. He had already seen middle-level pellets. The day he saw advanced pellets would come soon. As such, Su Ping did not care for the astral spirit fruit. It would be a waste for him to have one. This fruit was the most suitable for those who were stuck at the peak of the 8th rank. The common-looking lantern in Su Ping's hand was a treasure to strengthen the spirit. In addition to strengthening the spirit, the lantern could protect the owner's spirit from external attacks. If the enemy used illusions, spirit impalement and other similar skills, the strikes would be fended off by the lantern. The lantern was lit by astral power. The flames inside could nurture the spirit so it would slowly grow and develop. At the same time, as long as the flame inside the lantern was still burning, the lantern could protect Su Ping against all spiritual attacks. The others didn't understand why Su Ping had picked this strange lantern when he gave up on that sword. They thought it was because Su Ping had found something unique about this lantern. Each of them held the lamp and checked it but found nothing. Why are you going with this? Luo Guxu was puzzled. She could tell that the others were confused and suspicious. She thought she just might as well pose the question directly to Su Ping. Knowing the answer was better than having everyone speculating. Speculation was the worst. There was no telling where people's minds could wander off to. Su Ping gave a random answer. We have only found a broken set of armor and now this lantern. I am just worried that we won't even find lanterns later on, just some stones. This excuse was far-fetched and nobody believed him. However, they could tell that Su Ping was unwilling to say more. No matter what secret Su Ping had stumbled across in regards to this lantern, since he had picked it, they could not take it away from him. Besides, they had checked multiple times and didn't see anything. If Su Ping knew some hidden secrets, then they would only have themselves to blame for not having a good eye. Ni Chenkong tried to talk Su Ping out of taking this lantern but Su Ping insisted. Ni Chenkong's attempt was in vain. A kind of gloomy look flashed past Ni Chenkong's eyes. The team set off. They were heading for the 4th location. Same as before, they cleaned the beasts easily and obtained the treasures. This treasure, just as Su Ping said, was a stone. To be exact, it was a pale gold brick. When astral powers were poured into the brick, it would enlarge by several times and its weight would increase to over 500 kilograms. But that was it. Nothing else was special about it. None of them was interested in keeping this brick. It wasn't like they could have smashed this brick on some beasts' faces. Since nobody wanted to take the brick, it was put away for the time being. Everyone was speechless since they recalled Su Ping's prophetic words. He said the next one might be a stone and they did find a stone. Su Ping was surprised when he saw this brick. The brick should have been found in the next location. However, a long time had passed, and the brick had actually ended up at the 4th location. They didn't waste time and continued their trip. They explored the 5th, 6th, and 7th locations. They found a dagger that was similar to the sword old Mo took. The dagger was sharp, but the aura coming out from the dagger was dark. It was as if the astral powers poured into the dagger had transformed into undead energy. Another piece they discovered was an item like a gauzy dress. It was quite dirty after being in the mud for ages, and it had been contaminated with beast's feces. The first impression the dress left was that it was shabby. However, after they poured in astral powers, the dress emitted a holy light. By the looks of it, this was an armor designed for ladies. Of course, it was fine if men wanted to use it. This item could change its shape automatically according to the wearer's body. The dress could cover up all the body parts that should be protected. The only disadvantage for the men wearing it was that the dress could be tight. They tested the dress, called the mist dress, and noted that it was very strong. The death scythe failed to leave a mark on the dress with its sharp claws. Of course, the death scythe did not exert its full strength. Then they used the sword and the dagger and tried to cut the dress. Only some slight marks were left on the dress. With more astral powers imbued, even the slight marks disappeared. Everyone was intrigued by this item. It was Chen's turn to pick. Su Ping and old Mo had already chosen. Now Chen enjoyed the priority to choose. It was just this graceful vintage dress gave him mixed feelings. He hesitated, struggled, and hoped. Eventually, his personality won against his desire. He asked Luo Guxu to take the dress and he took the dagger. Apart from the two that were useful, another piece of treasure had been destroyed by time. They poured astral powers in, but there was no reaction from that item. When they went back, they were going to deal with that item as waste material. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 178. All in. Soon, half a day had passed. All the 13 treasure locations marked on the map had been explored. The only place left to be explored was the core region, which housed the major treasure. In total, 9 pieces of useful treasures were discovered from the 13 locations. Each person had one item and there was an extra remaining. Ni Chenkong took the chance and gave this item to Su Ping. Su Ping didn't care much for this item. It was one that nobody wanted, and was not valuable. It was an armor, but it could only fend off the strikes from average middle-rank beasts. For Su Ping, this armor was of no use. It was less effective than his solar bulwark. That being said, he did accept it. This was of no use to him, but he could sell it for millions. It just so happened that he lacked the money to upgrade the store. The others had no problem with Su Ping taking an extra piece. During their whole excursion, Su Ping's Dark Dragon Hound had demonstrated amazing abilities. They knew that this was Su Ping's first time there, and it was the first time the land had been explored. Otherwise, they would have thought that Su Ping had been there before. Thanks to Su Ping's information, they had managed to avoid many dangers. Every time they arrived at a location, Su Ping could find out the general situation of the place. Their exploration went on smoothly thanks to his help. Su Ping had clearly made the greatest contribution. The biggest danger when they scoured the 13 locations was when they met a beast at the intermediate position of the 9th rank. They had prepared a plan beforehand thanks to Su Ping's heads up, and they managed to kill that beast. However, Luo Guxu's flare bird had been hurt while giving support and could no longer join in the fight. The item they discovered in that location was not a precious one as they had originally thought. It was a broken item. They were unhappy since their efforts went down the drain. Up ahead is the core area. Ni Chenkong was visibly thrilled. This was the moment he had been waiting for. Everyone looked over. It was a massive cave, deep like a tunnel. They couldn't see the end of this pitch-dark hollow. A pungent smell came out from within, mixed with the stink of beasts' feces. Surely some beast had taken up residence there. That's our destination. Everyone's eyes glowed. Taking the treasure from this place was the main goal of their trip. Su Ping was also excited. Once the astral spirit fruit was grabbed and everyone left, he could go on exploring other dragon-scale lands. There were several places he wished to visit. He wondered if the treasures there had already been taken away. My hawk cannot sense what's inside, Zhou Jing said. He had his hawk fly up high to monitor the overall situation. Su Ping was the center of attention. He had been the one probing for information at each previous location. All eyes were on him. Su Ping didn't withhold any information from him. He said, "The beast residing here is a beast at the upper position of the 9th rank, a kind of sub-dragon species, the flame flood dragon. It is very destructive and skilled at spirit attacks. The upper position of the 9th rank." This information had stunned all of them. They looked at Su Ping with frightened faces. Ni Chenkong was just as scared. "Are you sure?" He kept his eyes on Su Ping. The higher the rank, the bigger the gap was in strength. At the 9th rank, the difference between positions was like those between the 8th rank and the 9th rank. Each beast at the upper position of the 9th rank could easily defeat over 100 beasts at the intermediate position of the 9th rank. That was the truth. To make it worse, the beast they would face was a sub-dragon. Of all the beasts of the upper position of the 9th rank, this beast would be considered superior. Old Mo and Chen looked at Su Ping and then at Ni Chenkong. Given their previous experience, although the information Su Ping had spilled out was shocking, neither of them doubted him at this point. The only thing they were nervous about was Ni Chenkong's decision. Ni Chenkong's goal for this trip was to obtain this major treasure. Would he give up? Captain Mi, Old Mo was having second thoughts. He wanted to advise Ni against it. Old Mo's death scythe was at the lower position of the 9th rank and had suffered from some minor injuries in the previous fights. Besides, the death scythe had yet to recover from the infection inflicted by the spider's poison and thus could not perform at its best. If they pulled everyone's strength together and the beast was at the intermediate position of the 9th rank, there was a chance of winning for them. However, the beast was in the upper position. The gap between the beast and the death scythe was like the gap between the 7th and the 9th ranks. Chen was thinking about giving up as well. His dragon had a bloodline at the upper position of the 9th rank. That being said, the dragon had yet to grow to its prime state and was currently at the intermediate position of the 9th rank. Besides, his earthen dragon was not powerful when it came to attacks, it was merely good at defense. If Su Ping and the others were defeated, having defensive properties would only delay a certain death. Chen was unwilling to take this risk. Ni Chenkong lowered his head. He was vexed. He didn't have to look to know what Old Mo and Chen were thinking. Old Mo and Chen were not alone in this. Ni Chenkong could feel that Guo Yulan and Zhou Jing were uneasy. Perhaps, they wanted to leave more than Mo and Chen. Should we try it? Ni Chenkong clenched his fist and bit his teeth. Old Mo and Chen's minds were weighed down when they heard Ni Chenkong's words. He had not given up. Old Mo heaved a sigh inwardly. When he accepted Ni Chenkong's offer, he had agreed to help Ni Chenkong obtain the main treasure. They were at the final step now. To leave at this point would offend Ni Chenkong. Besides, Mo would lose his credibility in this community and no one would look for him in the future. Chen was sighing as well. He even regretted taking this offer. Ni Chenkong raised his head and glanced at him. He noticed Mo and Chen's troubled expressions. Ni Chenkong curled his lips. He said nothing and turned to Su Ping, only to find that the youngest and most talented Su Ping was also the calmest of all. He saw no signs of retreating in his expression. Ni Chenkong's eyes glowed. He asked Su Ping, "Brother Su, are you willing to go with me?" Su Ping was surprised by this question. Isn't this what we had agreed upon in the beginning? Ni Chenkong felt a spread of warmth in his heart and a lump came to his throat. He took a deep breath and said, "Thank you." No one expected that Su Ping would be willing to face the dangers with Ni Chenkong, because even if they could get the treasure, it would be Ni Chenkong's, not Su Ping's. Old Mo and Chen found it hard to understand. Even other teammates like Zhou Jing were puzzled. They didn't know if Su Ping was too innocent or too honest. Either way, they could tell that Su Ping was someone they could befriend. Since Su has said so, then let's go and find out. Chen knew that his words could not change the decision by then, so he could only voice his agreement. Old Mo threw Chen a look, regarding the latter a sly person. Let's have a try, then. But we do need a detailed plan. Besides that, summon the rest of your pets if you have any others. This is the final battle, Old Mo said. Ni Chenkong was relieved since they had agreed to go on. He opened up his contract space at once and a violent surge of air swarmed out. A 9th rank bloodthirst snake came out. This pet was at the intermediate position of the 9th rank and was close to breaking through to the next step. The snake was over 100 meters long and thick like a railroad track. The snake was covered with crimson scales. This was a pet that was incredibly violent and hard to tame. Ni Chenkong had done his best to control this pet at the intermediate position of the 9th rank when he was at the 8th rank. Usually, battle pet warriors could use pets 2 ranks higher, but that rule didn't apply to 9th rank pets. Every position in the 9th rank would make a world of difference. Old Mo and Chen were stunned by this bloodthirst snake. They didn't know that apart from the fallen priest, which was at the lower position of the 9th rank, Ni Chenkong had another pet at the intermediate position of the 9th rank. 2 pets at the 9th rank. Ni Chenkong had a great backing. Zhou Jing and the other teammates started to look at the bloodthirst snake in fear. They were not as stunned, though. Since they were used to fighting together, they knew something about Ni Chenkong's pets. Old Mo didn't hesitate to open up his contract space as well. From inside hopped out a blood flood dragon, a pet at the peak of the 8th rank, and also of the sub-dragon kind. This was a mixed blood pet with traces of a Beast King bloodline. However, the pet had only inherited the Beast King's body shape, not the huge size or strength. On the other hand, the blood flood dragon was cruel, brutal, and it had strong abilities. Some average beasts at the lower position of the 9th rank were unwilling to provoke this blood flood dragon. Chen also summoned his second pet, a flaming lion, which was at the lower position of the 9th rank. The flaming lion was proficient in combat and could work well with the earthen dragon. Combined, the 2 pets were not worse than Li Chenkong's pet. Zhou Jing didn't know that Mo and Chen had such powerful pets. Instantly, Zhou Jing's confidence was boosted. After the 3 of them summoned their pets, they shifted their attention to Su Ping. They believed that Su Ping's major pet had to be quite formidable since the Dark Dragon Hound was his secondary pet. Su Ping didn't hesitate. Everyone was convinced that to battle against a beast at the upper position of the 9th rank, Su Ping would have to do his best. When the contract space was opened, a scary aura oozed out from the inside. All the summoned pets became unsettled. The temperature rose rapidly as the Inferno Dragon crawled out. It had grown to be more than 10 meters long. Although the Inferno Dragon was shorter than the 100-meter Flame Flood Dragon and the Blood Flood Dragon, the overwhelming sense of the Inferno Dragon was stronger than that of the 2 Flood Dragons. Inferno Dragon. Luo Guxu was the only one prepared to see this pet. The others stared at the Inferno Dragon with their eyes wide open. The Inferno Dragon was the best of all dragons. To have a dragon with a 9th rank bloodline was costly enough, not to mention to have the best there was, the Inferno Dragon. The earthen dragon next to Chen was standing straight with its head raised. The moment the Inferno Dragon came out, the earthen dragon began to tremble and it retracted its wings. The pressure of a superior dragon instilled fear in the earthen dragon. Since the earthen dragon had reached the intermediate position of the 9th rank, it could withstand this presence. But if the earthen dragon were of a lower rank, it would have prostrated itself in front of the Inferno Dragon. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 179. Full Strength. Where did you get this Inferno Dragon? Old Mo and Chen stared at Su Ping in utter astonishment. How much wealth and how many connections did Su Ping have to enjoy being able to buy a pet that was the best of the best? Ni Chenkong was also startled. He thought Su Ping would have summoned that special skeleton. He didn't know that Su Ping had this rare Inferno Dragon. Go Yuelan, Zhou Jing, and Yi Chenshin were all stunned stiff. Su Ping didn't stop there. He also called out the little skeleton. The little skeleton's entry was quiet. If the Inferno Dragon coming out was like throwing a meteorite into a lake, stirring up waves and tides, then the little skeleton was like a pebble thrown into the water, stirring up some ripples. Looking at the little skeleton, which was a bit over a meter tall, everyone was speechless. Ni Chenkong was surprised. Is this the skeleton? Yes. Luo Guxu nodded. This little skeleton had managed to kill a magical corpse beast in the past and could at the moment defeat a 9th rank beast easily. This little skeleton was a freak. Su Ping then went on to summon the purple python. The purple python was over 100 meters long, just as big as that bloodthirst snake in the blood flood dragon. Su Ping didn't summon the purple python to battle, but to be his guard to protect himself. Su Ping was not confident that the earthen dragon could provide enough protection. The size of the purple python came as a surprise. This one seemed to be bigger than regular purple pythons. However, purple pythons were beasts with middle-rank bloodlines. They were cheap and unwelcomed. The others didn't understand why Su Ping would keep an ordinary pet like the purple python when he had the Inferno dragon. It was unnecessary, and the purple python would only waste the space available in his spirit. Since Mr. Su has summoned the purple python, I cannot be stingy myself. Ni Chenkong glanced over the pets Su Ping had summoned, and his eyes paused for a moment when he saw the Inferno dragon. Ni Chenkong raised his hand and summoned 2 more battle pets at the intermediate position and the upper position of the 8th rank respectively. Theoretically speaking, in a battle against 9th rank beasts, those 2 battle pets would not be of much help. However, since Su Ping had even summoned the 6th ranked purple python, Ni Chenkong felt he couldn't keep his 2 pets stashed away. They were sparing no effort. Old Mo and Chen curled their lips. They hesitated for a moment and then each summoned a secondary pet, both at the intermediate position of the 8th rank. Secondary pets assist and 9th rank battle pets. Charge. Ni Chenkong looked at the team. His confidence was boosted after seeing the added pets. The only thing bothering him was that Su Ping's Inferno dragon seemed to have just reached adulthood, so its abilities would probably be not that great. If the Inferno dragon were at the 9th rank, it could have defeated that sub-dragon in the cave by itself. It would have been unnecessary for the other pets to join. Old Mo and Chen were relieved to hear Ni Chenkong's strategy. If the secondary pets were sent to battle against a sub-dragon at the upper position of the 9th rank, it would practically be suicidal. Do you think we should set up some traps outside to lure that sub-dragon out? Zhou Jing asked. He had nimble wits and a gift for unconventional ways. Ni Chenkong had the same idea. Yes. Su Ping, on the other hand, was trying to say no because he deemed this as a waste of time. However, since they wanted to play it safe, Su Ping had to swallow his disagreement. Staying on the safe side was not a bad thing in case something went amiss. Soon, they cooked up a plan. They chose a nearby valley as the location for the ambush. Above, at the edges of the valley were some massive boulders the earthen dragon had prepared. Those huge boulders had been made from the iron element extracted from the earth. They were more like enormous iron balls instead of boulders. Yi Chenshin and the others' pets lurked at the sides of the valley. Traps that contained flames, lava, and ice had been set up. The traps were ready. The big question was, who should go and lure the flame flood dragon out? Su Ping acted unconcerned. Naturally, he didn't want to stand out. He was confident that he could kill this flame flood dragon by himself. That being said, this time, he was in real life. Who could tell if something had changed? Maybe this flame flood dragon's strength had been enhanced. What if the flame flood dragon was not at the upper position of the 9th rank like he had seen in the cultivation site? In that case, luring the flood dragon out would put him in harm's way. The others were looking at Su Ping because they wanted him to take the lead. After all, it seemed that Su Ping was familiar with the situation inside the cave. However, to actually propose this out loud was hard. Never mind. Allow me. Ni Chenkong looked around and everyone avoided making eye contact. He knew that no one was willing to perform this task. Su Ping was familiar with the cave, but he was the one providing the intelligence. During their entire trip, Su Ping had made countless contributions. Ni Chenkong could not bring himself to ask Su Ping to take this risk. Besides, Su Ping's Inferno dragon appeared to have just reached adulthood. Ni Chenkong thought the Inferno Dragon might not be as powerful as the Dark Dragon Hound. Su Ping's core strength was in the little skeleton. By the looks of it, it had just about the same strength as the Dark Dragon Hound. Ni Chenkong didn't have much hope for the little skeleton. Everyone was relieved since Ni Chenkong had volunteered. Ni Chenkong asked Su Ping about the specifics in the cave. Su Ping gave a brief introduction about the terrain but did not reveal too many specifics. After all, some details could not be found in regular scouting. Saying too much could invite unwanted suspicion. Ni Chenkong was a bit relieved after obtaining information from Su Ping. He took some deep breaths and told the others to wait there and provide help when necessary. He trusted his teammates. Zhou Jing and the others nodded and told Ni Chenkong to be careful. Soon, Ni Chenkong made the fallen priest and the bloodthirst snake lead the way and slowly entered the cave. A moment later, Ni Chenkong vanished from everyone's sight as he went further in. People waited quietly outside. As time moved on, some began to become anxious. Su Ping was calm. He was counting the time based on the speed of Ni Chenkong's movement. After about 7 minutes, Su Ping kept his eyes on the opening of the cave and said, "He should be out in a minute." Su Ping's words took everyone by surprise. Hurriedly, they focused their minds on the cave. Boom! Something collapsed inside the cave. The noise shocked everyone. They were coming. In the next moment, Ni Chenkong was the first one to appear in everyone's sight. He was running like crazy. When he saw his teammates, he said to them in haste, "Go to the valley." Roar! From the cave behind him came out some angry roars. Something was bumping against the inside walls of the cave. That was an indication of a fierce battle. Everyone turned around and hurried their way to the valley. Ni Chenkong caught up with them and everyone returned to the valley together. Not long after they arrived, the fallen priest and the bloodthirst snake also quickly entered the valley. Along the way, the bloodthirst snake had been using its skills, pounding the ground with its tail. Many places on the ground caved in and that slowed down the beast that was after them. Behind them was a flood dragon that was almost 200 meters long and twisting like a meandering mountain road. The flood dragon was covered with burning crimson scales. The flood dragon bellowed and its movement was stunningly fast. Although it was being slowed down by the pits on the ground, the flood dragon was fast approaching the two battle pets. Ni Chenkong was worried. He clenched his fists. Soon, the flame flood dragon arrived at the valley. At the moment, it was merely 100 meters away from the fallen priest. "Do it!" Ni Chenkong shouted with a hurried tone. The traps were ready. All of them were activated at the same time. From above the valley, the heavy iron balls began to fall. There were dozens of them. Each of the iron balls could have smashed and collapsed a 10-story building, to later make a huge hole on the ground. In the meantime, the flare bird, which had been injured before, had started to spill the lava it had previously prepared from the side of the valley. The lava was moving toward the flame flood dragon. The spikes, ice blades, storms and other skills the others had ready were released instantly, targeting the flame flood dragon. Usually, not all of those spikes and blades would be able to hit the target. However, since the skills had been ready for a while, all of them landed squarely on the target. Ocean of stones. Chen's eyes glowed as he shouted. He poured astral powers into his pet. The earthen dragon bellowed and its strength was visibly increased. The earthen dragon stood in the air over the valley and passed some strength from its feet to the stone walls on the side of the valley, which began to shake. Boom! The stone walls were closing in rapidly around the flame flood dragon. It was going to be squeezed to death. Calling of the earthen stars. Ni Chenkong had the bloodthirst snake unleash a 9th rank skill of the stone family as well. The earth elements were gathering in the air and then they formed a square boulder that could fit well with the valley. The boulder smashed down, blocking the flame flood dragon's path. Bang! A thunderous noise came from the valley as if it were being bombarded. The dust was unsettled, but Ni Chenkong had already told his fallen priest which was holding its rod to take action. Profound dark and foul air were emitted from the fallen priest. The air was corrosive and could cause hallucinations. When low-rank beasts touched this foul air, even a tiny bit, the beasts would lose their minds instantly. Their blood would flow backwards and the beasts would bleed to death. Many augmentation skills were used on the fallen priest, which had grown in size. The fallen priest was gaining more momentum. Whoosh! Over 100 shadows of the fallen priest's huge rod were generated. The fallen priest smashed its rod down and 100 shadows became one. With a bang, the earth shook. More clouds of dust were stirred up. Roar! Amid the dust, something burst out with mad roars of fury and evil spirits. A strong flame instantly swept out and dispelled the dust and mist. The flame flood dragon stood up in the flames, bellowing and breathing fire. The fallen priest tried to fight back. However, since this was a 9th rank dragon fire with a strong impact, the rod was burnt red promptly and the fallen priest was smashed away. This was appalling. Nobody expected that the flame flood dragon could exhibit such power after receiving so many blows. That being said, the previous efforts were effective. The many iron balls hurled down by the earthen dragon alone had inflicted great harm. There were many places caved in on the flame flood dragon's back. Its scales were broken and blood was oozing out. Amidst the flames, the blood had dried up, leaving visible marks on the flame flood dragon's back. Su Ping was relieved after looking at the flame flood dragon. This was what he had seen at the cultivation site, a flame flood dragon at the upper position of the 9th rank. It was just that this flame flood dragon was skinnier, colder and gloomier. This might be a different flame flood dragon, a child of the one he had seen at the cultivation site. Let's go. Ni Chenkong bit his teeth. The traps worked, but they had failed to inflict the level of harm he had anticipated. The only way left for them was to fight the flame flood dragon at close quarters. Luckily, after their previous battles, all of them had developed a great sense of teamwork. They could help their pets put their abilities into full play. Old Mo forced a smile. He had no other choice but to tell his death scythe to join. Without hesitation, Chen told his earthen dragon to land in the valley to add an earth shield to the death scythe, the fallen priest, the bloodthirst snake and himself. At the same time, the earthen dragon used a dragon shield, dragon scale protection and other skills which were stronger than the earth shield. However, the latter skills could not be used on anyone or anything other than the earthen dragon itself. Not even Chen could enjoy the benefit. Having finished building all those shields, the earthen dragon bellowed. It took the lead and dashed toward the enraged flame flood dragon. Astral Pet Store. Chapter 180, Crushing Blow. The flame flood dragon heard the earthen dragon's roar. It responded in kind. The flood dragon was a combination of snake and dragon. The hoarse scream was both threatening and terrifying. Since everyone had sent out their pets, Su Ping did not fall behind. He told the little skeleton to open its mouth to take out the blood crystal. The little skeleton then hopped onto the Inferno dragon's back and charged into the valley together with the dark dragon hound. As for the purple python, it used snake entangle to protect Su Ping. The more than 100-meter-long snake curled up into a ball. This huge fleshly shield was the perfect protection for Su Ping. Su Ping still remembered that he was a battle pet warrior at the upper position of the 4th rank. He had solar bulwark and his physical strength could withstand the attacks from 5th rank beasts. However, this was a dangerous place. Without the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound with him, any 7th rank beast could deal him a fatal blow. Of course, if any 7th or 8th rank beasts were to sneak up on him, even Yi Chenshin and the other advanced battle pet warriors would lose their lives for sure. After all, their resistance was even weaker when compared to Su Ping's solar bulwark. Su Ping used his mind to sense and observe the battle while he hid inside the snake cover. Relying on its strong defense, the earthen dragon was fighting the flame flood dragon up close. The dragon shield was broken. The fallen priest and the bloodthirst snake assisted on the sides. Their cooperation was going well. However, the fallen priest and the bloodthirst snake were being intimidated by the flames on the flame flood dragon. The dragon flames were destructive. The earth shield on the fallen priest and the bloodthirst snake was scorched black. The bloodthirst snake had been born to be ferocious and its attacks were formidable. However, as it faced this flame flood dragon, the bloodthirst snake could not exhibit its ferocity at all. Neither did it dare to entangle nor bite the flame flood dragon. The bloodthirst snake just waved its tail to knock off some stones on the sides and hurl them at the flame flood dragon. The fallen priest wielded his rod. While the earthen dragon was distracted by the flame flood dragon, the fallen priest rapidly smashed the latter. The rod was soon burnt red by the flames. The skin on fallen priest's hands was grilled and blood was oozing out. Still, the fallen priest held on tight to the rod. This isn't good enough. Ni Chenkong and Old Mo could tell that things were not looking good. They were anxious. Ni Chenkong was struggling inside. He wondered if he should give the bloodthirst snake the ultimate command to attack at all costs. In that case, the flame flood dragon would be severely injured. However, it was most likely that the bloodthirst snake would be gone. Was it worth it? Ni Chenkong was thinking and hesitating. He was the only one with the knowledge that apart from the map he had shown the others, he had another treasure map that recorded the effects of all the treasures available. The major treasure was an astral spirit fruit that could help him move up one position. For him, this piece of fruit was valuable. Once he reached the upper position of the 8th rank, he could step to the 9th rank directly with the help of this fruit. The 8th rank and the 9th rank represented a completely different social status. After all, 8th rank battle pet warriors were regarded as masters, but 9th rank battle pet warriors had their titles and were famous across the globe. The latter could move up to the high society circle, and even in this circle, they would be regarded as top influencers. While Ni Chenkong was still hesitating, the situation had changed. The roar from the Inferno Dragon startled everyone. The Inferno Dragon leaped into the valley and dashed toward the Flame Flood Dragon. This scene took everyone by complete surprise. This Inferno Dragon had just reached adulthood. This wasn't the place for the Inferno Dragon to appear when a battle between the most powerful beasts was underway. The loss would be too huge if the Inferno Dragon lost its life accidentally. Someone noticed something was standing on the Inferno Dragon's shoulder. It was the skeleton. This came as another shock to them. Dragons were born with incredible pride. As one of the best dragons, the Inferno Dragon was definitely more proud than any other dragon. The master of the Inferno Dragon would normally do its best not to provoke it, in case it went crazy even under the influence of the contract. So, why would this Inferno Dragon allow a skeleton to stand on its shoulder? Soon, the Inferno Dragon had dashed to reach the Flame Flood Dragon with the little skeleton. Next to the Inferno Dragon was the Dark Dragon Hound that was rushing on just as quickly as the dragon. Roar! The dragon roared to instill fear. The Flame Flood Dragon was not intimidated in the slightest. Rather, it was enraged. The Flame Flood Dragon bellowed as well. As a sub-dragon beast, the Flame Flood Dragon did not hold dragons in high regard. Instead, there was innate hatred and hostility. The Inferno Dragon was surrounded by raging flames. Its eyes were filled with fury. It opened its mouth and breathed out more fire. The scorching heat even scared the Earthen Dragon in front of the Flame Flood Dragon. The Earthen Dragon moved away quickly. The Flame Flood Dragon breathed out a fire as well. However, compared to the Inferno Dragon's fire, the Flame Flood Dragon's fire was quickly subdued. Even the flames burning on the body of the Flame Flood Dragon were dying down as if they had been scared away by the King of Fire. The Dark Dragon Hound hit on the side and added 5 shield levels to the huge Inferno Dragon. That was the best the Dark Dragon Hound could do. With the help of the 5 shield levels, the defensive power of the Inferno Dragon had increased to a stunning degree. Thanks to Su Ping's training, the Inferno Dragon was practically immune to ordinary fire. Even though the Flame Flood Dragon's flames were not of the common kind, they weren't that effective against the Inferno Dragon. When the Inferno Dragon smashed itself against the Flame Flood Dragon, the little skeleton stood on the Inferno Dragon's shoulder like a little knight. Its dark and deep eye sockets suddenly gave out a crimson glow. Cruelty, coldness. Many kinds of negative emotions were displayed by the little skeleton. But its movements seemed to be composed. The little skeleton simply unsheathed the bone blade from its waist with a slow and deliberate motion. As the bone blade was drawn, foul air surged from it. In an instant, the small bone blade grew, turning into a huge sword 4 to 5 meters long, longer than the little skeleton itself. Die. The little skeleton disappeared from the Inferno Dragon's shoulder. In the next second, the little skeleton re-emerged in front of the Flame Flood Dragon's eyes. The Flame Flood Dragon was still occupied with the battle. It was to its surprise that such a small thing would be involved in the fight. But, from the small thing, the Flame Flood Dragon felt something terrifying that was not even found in dragons. The Flame Flood Dragon could not help but tremble. Poof! The sword was swung across the Flame Flood Dragon rapidly. Blood was spilled out. The Flame Flood Dragon had just closed its eyes when its eyelids were cut, so were its eyeballs. Around the cut was some dark aura that was eating away the eyeballs like flames. The sharp pain made the Flame Flood Dragon cry out in misery. It fell and tumbled around in the valley. Die! Die! The little skeleton moved quickly. It had copied the Thunder Flash, developing a skill suitable to itself. This skill was a common one for beast kings. However, it was rare and difficult to learn for 9th rank beasts. The little skeleton dashed around and its sword was sharp. As such, the little skeleton was able to inflict harm on the Flame Flood Dragon at many places. The hard dragon scales could not stop the sword from making those cuts. The flames around the Flame Flood Dragon were being consumed by the dark flames from the little skeleton. The dark flames were an inherent skill that came with the Skeleton King's bloodline, Hellfire. Not even the Inferno Dragon's fire could compare against this Hellfire. However, since the little skeleton had not finished consuming the blood crystal yet, the Hellfire was not a complete one. The little skeleton could not give full play to the strength of the Hellfire yet. The little skeleton's participation made a difference. The Inferno Dragon was attacking madly, demonstrating its horrifying strength. The Inferno Dragon was even more violent than the Fallen Priest and the Bloodthirst Snake. Soon, the Flame Flood Dragon was overwhelmed. Finally, the Earthen Dragon that was here to distract the Flame Flood Dragon felt the burden lifted and it could catch a breath. Ni Chenkong and the others stared at the battle while being completely stunned. This had utterly disrupted their view. The Inferno Dragon that seemed to have just reached adulthood could demonstrate abilities no weaker than the lower position of the 9th rank. How? They couldn't comprehend the drastic contrast. To make it more shocking, the skeleton that appeared to be nothing special could appear and disappear mysteriously. Also, the skeleton was very destructive. Every time the skeleton made a move, it could harm the Flame Flood Dragon. The latter could not fend off the skeleton at all. Compared to the Inferno Dragon, the skeleton might even be a bit stronger. Luo Guxu, who had witnessed the strength of the skeleton in the academy, was taken aback as well. She had thought that the little skeleton could at most fight against a beast at the intermediate position of the 9th rank. How could she know that the little skeleton could deal with a Flame Flood Dragon at the upper position of the 9th rank with such skill and ease? Of course, the Flame Flood Dragon was fighting against multiple opponents. That being said, the little skeleton had been moving gracefully. It had demonstrated unexpected strength. That is horrifying, Luo Guxu thought to herself. She couldn't help but tremble. With the little skeleton and the Inferno Dragon's cooperation, the Flame Flood Dragon was a mass of bruises. The little skeleton could kill this Flame Flood Dragon by itself, and it could do it faster with the help of the Inferno Dragon. The Inferno Dragon was not fighting alone. The Earthen Dragon was distracting their opponent. The Bloodthirst Snake and the Fallen Priest, which were not of great help, could give assistance since they were 9th rank pets after all. This was a landslide victory for them. The Dark Dragon Hound hopped around on the side, trying to prove its existence. But its existence was of little value at this point. The battle soon came to an end. A few minutes later, the Flame Flood Dragon collapsed on the ground, still screaming. Its eyes had been cut in many places and the majority of its scales were broken. The little skeleton punched the Flame Flood Dragon's head into the ground and the Inferno Dragon jumped over and bit the head. The Inferno Dragon's teeth were giving out flames and its bite force was strong. The Inferno Dragon tore up the Flame Flood Dragon's jaw. Blood was spilled around. The view was so bloody that no one could stand the sight. When the battle ended, it took everyone a moment to come back to their senses. Ni Chenkong moved his fallen priest to check. The flame flood dragon was dead. Its jaw was torn up so its tongue and teeth were revealed. Blood was still streaming out. It's over. Zhou Jing and Guo Linyu felt as if everything were a dream. They were just watching and still they won. They were all astonished by the outstanding Inferno Dragon. It had just reached adulthood, but just like the Dark Dragon Hound, the Inferno Dragon was a genius. They wondered if the Inferno Dragon had reached the peak of adulthood. It just had some bodily deformity, which was why it didn't look like an adult dragon. Anyways, the ferocity of the Inferno Dragon left a deep impression. The one that impressed him the most was the quiet but violent skeleton. The skeleton had returned to the Inferno Dragon's shoulder. The others looked at him with their eyes glistening with glows of curiosity. They didn't remember seeing any skeleton with black bones. But none of the advanced skeletons were this small. It was odd. They could not tell the species of this skeleton. Either way, the skeleton was not a common one since the Inferno Dragon was willing to be its mount. Su Ping had become a piece of mystery as well. His age, strength and pets were all part of that mystery. Old Mo looked at Su Ping in fear. He was unwilling to admit it, but the young man had exhibited strength stronger than his. Su Ping was still so young. He was no weaker than the star students from prominent households. At the moment, Su Ping had asked the purple python to free him from the entanglement, and both the little skeleton and the Inferno Dragon had come back. Ni Chenkong looked at Su Ping solemnly. He told himself that he could never provoke this person. He was unhappy since Su Ping had taken away that lantern. However, the help Su Ping had provided during this trip was much more valuable than the lantern. In particular, without having Su Ping's assistance, it would have been a long shot for Ni Chenkong to obtain that astral spirit fruit. Zhou Jing, stay here and guard the body. We will go and pick the fruit, then we'll come back to clean this site, Ni Chenkong said. The thought of having that astral spirit fruit excited him. He didn't want to wait another moment. The others didn't expect that Ni Chenkong would be in such a hurry, but they discarded it as unimportant. The flame flood dragon was dead. The corpse would not run away on its own. Zhou Jing accepted the task. He had his hawk monitor the area while he found a place to hide. Su Ping was surprised to see Ni Chenkong acting in such a rushed manner. It was almost as if Ni Chenkong knew what was inside the cave. In principle, according to their previous experience, Ni Chenkong would also know whether the treasure had been destroyed. Ni Chenkong's impatience intrigued Su Ping. He went after Ni Chenkong at once. End of the chapter. Astral Pets Store will be read in 5 chapters for every Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.